All right, so let's finally talk about the full season of True Detective season 4,
Right.
aka Night Country, right? As
Right.
I said in the beginning of this episode here, I was under the impression that this show is going to run for 8 episodes. So much
Yeah,
of
me
my
too.
surprise, last Monday I go up on Facebook and it's like, boy, the finale of this show is the most watched show, episode in HBO history ever, or something like that. Something along that line. Like yeah, a lot of people sat down to watch this finale, right? And even though I was not watching weekly, as a great thing that I didn't, I did, I just watched the first 5 episodes. I just binged it out in one day, and then I watched the finale separately on another, well, the following day itself, right? Ricardo, like what you said earlier on, you were watching it like 2 episodes, every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah,
You were
kind of,
watching
kind of,
like that,
yeah,
yeah,
kind of beats me. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But I would love for you to do these synopsis first, right? But
Sure.
to begin, right? And I'll bring this up in terms of how I should look at the show itself, True Detective, right? I was reminded, Jed, after watching Night Country, that season 3, which we did cover, came out 5 years ago,
Yeah, it's a hot minute. Well, I mean,
2019 that came out today. I
yeah,
was like, wow,
I
boy.
doesn't count that whole 5 years because as far as I concerned, like that COVID, it should count. Whatever.
I,
Yeah,
I,
it's
I I
fine.
know, yeah. So this is where it is make the whole discussion, because yeah, when it comes to this show in particular, right, the whole discussion that comes around is which is the best season? Is this season
Right.
4 the best season, or is it the first one, right?
Right.
I will let you know. I,
Well,
I I still think that the first one is the best, right? I'll just
well,
get it out
I
one
don't
time.
think, I don't think this better than even the second best season.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well, all right.
yeah,
But the thing is, because I don't. Well, why for me it's hard to really rank the episodes, right? Is because of how inconsistent its run is, right? Now,
yeah,
yes, it has to do with stuff behind the scenes and who is the showrunner and XYZ and people leaving and blah blah blah. And in the case of this one, I know COVID had a huge part to play in this, right? But
yeah,
think about this, like from and we talk about HBO here, right? When it comes to like their greatest works, right? Whether it's 6 Feet Under or Sopranos or The Wire, which still in my opinion is the best TV show ever made, in my opinion. Agree to disagree. I love that show. I own that and The Sopranos on Blu-ray, and I'm happy to see
yeah,
that, right? But you didn't wait 2-3 years for the seasons of those shows to drop, though. And even with Game of
well,
Thrones, right, which is divisive now, right? Looking back at it now, yeah, you didn't have to wait 2, 3, 4 years for a follow-up season. Yeah, either you like for the most part you had to wait like about, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years, especially for like stuff like Game of Thrones, because yeah, that was an expensive show, right? So of course, it's like, oh, an episode out, sorry, a season done, boom, and they just automatically just supposed to pump up, put out a next season like in a next year, just like that. It wasn't easy. I know that for sure, right? So when it came to something like True Detective, right? You would think that HBO would have at least been, I don't know, careful enough to be able to put out these shows on a much more consistently there. But sorry, we had to wait a while for these seasons to drop, right? Season 2, if I'm
right,
not mistaken, came out in 2015, right? That was already the time when we talked about Straight Outta Compton. Actually, fun fact, the same episode that we talk about Straight Outta Compton was where we talk about True Detective season 2, right? Um,
right.
and then we had to wait 4 years for season 3. Then we had to wait 5 years for this, right?
Yeah,
So the point I get at this, right? So it will be hard for me, and for me, like personally, I wanted to recap the first season, right? Because what I heard going into Night Country or for IGN of all people is that this is the best season since season 1. So I wanted to recap
right.
season 1 so I could
Yeah,
make the opinion,
which I
right?
don't agree with, but yeah.
Yeah, it's understandable if you don't agree, right? But I just didn't have the time, and I didn't feel it was necessary, right? So
Well,
let's
they make a small connection. There's a slight connection to season one, but it's not important like in any meaningful way.
right. I think I know what you're talking about. I think that's in the
Right.
finale, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, no,
Yeah.
it's just one. It's a character connected to another character, kind of, from season
Oh,
one.
okay,
That's it.
fine. Yeah, all
I
right, all
think
right.
that's the only, as far as I know. Like I watch the movie more than I watch the series more than once, so I don't know in detail. But that's the only connection I kind of made. I don't think they made any major. They have no major connection as.
Right. Yeah. So I'm wrapping up here, right? So that's the problem that I come across with this show, right? Where I want to say this season is better than the previous one, but because of the long gap of time between each seasons, it's kind of hard for me to really say, well, I like, like it's even harder for me to remember what happened in these episodes, right? Sorry, in these seasons. I just have to remember how I felt about the overall product, the overall season, and just base my view on the new season from that, right? So that's why it's hard for me to say that, season 4 is better than 1, or 1 is better than 2, and so on and so forth. It's hard, right? But if this came out at a much more consistent pace, then I could say, yeah, this season was better than the last one, and blah. Okay, you have the gap of time is smaller, so you remember things more, right? I think that's the problem. But I do hope that, seeing that season 5 has been greenlit literally last week, yeah, the greenlit season 5. I hope that we don't have to wait 5 years to get another season, right? But last thing I'll say, and then we'll get to your thoughts on what I've been talking about, right? What I hope to do is that once this season decides to wrap up, right? Sorry, this show decides to wrap up, that's when I will recap all the others. And that's when I could come and say, this season is better than the other, and the other, and the other. I could do that. I could do it like that. But I can't do it now because of the gap of time between episodes and seasons. Then also too because, it's an anthology series, right? So every season tells its own story, right? So there'll be things about this season that you will like, but you might be iffy about certain things, but you might prefer how the story in the other one was, right? So it's like that, right? But I really feel like when the show itself ends or wraps up, that's when I could go back and say, all right, season 1 is the best, this one's the best, this one's the best. But right now, I just have to gauge it in terms of just what this season gives me and nothing more. I don't think it'll make sense for me to go back and say, well, this is better than season 3. Nah, I don't have time for that, right? And I don't think it makes sense right now, right? That's my 2 cents on it. But yeah, Ricardo, tell me how wrong I am, and then he can jump into Night Country.
No, that is what it is. I mean, as I say, I don't agree with the idea that this is the second best season. I think season 1 is still the best. All right, so just my quick ranking, and then we'll get into the review. I think season 1 is the best, season 3 second best, then this, then 2, right? And we'll get into the thing. So yeah, this is in Alaska. We follow 2 major characters. Well, with 2 or 3, but mainly 2. Navarro, played by oh god, what's her name?
It's Kali Reese, right?
Yeah.
This is actually the
Kali
first time
Reese.
I'm seeing her, and I didn't even know that she was a boxer.
Yeah, I think this is like a first show thing kind of thing. Right. So the thing, right? So first things first, the show is not the same. It's not this fellow doing the showrunner. It's a new showrunner, Issa Lopez.
Yeah, Issa Lopez. It's not the Nick guy.
Nick.
Pizzolato. Yeah. Pizzolato. Yeah.
Yeah, Pizzolato. Yeah, Nick Pillon, not him, right? So it's a new
and sorry to cut you there, and I think that is why the title sequence is the way it is.
Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. It's not a bad title sequence or anything like that.
But I like it. It's the stuff that you would expect out of HBO, where every shot have some sort of detail that comes up. Like it adds a lot of when the show ends, you will look back at it and be like, oh, that's what these scenes mean, right?
No, I get all of that. No, it have a lot of meaning. It have a lot of meaning and subtext, and that is fine. But my thing is
and then also too, sorry to cut you. Then also too, the choice of song, Billie Eilish is from, I think it's from her debut record. It works because it's that same sort of nocturnal stuff that she did back then, but it peeled in comparison. Like I shouldn't say it peeled in comparison. I get it in terms of the context, right? We want to make it dark and nocturnal. That's the point, right? That's why you choose the song. It's supposed to be like that. That's the vibe. But I miss the silhouette thread from the last 3 seasons. Because those
double exposure.
The double exposure, boy. I love those.
I really wish it is. I don't mind the song. The song is fine, whatever. It's neither here near nor there. For me, I don't really mind. But the lack of double exposure, Jared, I really wish it had went to that aesthetic. Because that's such a unique thing to True Detective now.
Agreed, man.
Did it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody did it, and it's such a great look. I mean, I don't mind the change of music. That's fine. Like, whatever. But I really wish they going back. They had the old double exposure look. That's just it for me. I don't really care.
It's about the theme, man. The theme of it is about what's underneath the surface, You kind of get rid of that and just show me dark stuff in the snow because we're in Alaska.
No, so, but they give like context for why it is equal.
I know, but that's good. Yeah.
Right. So that don't bother me. But yeah, as I say, my only other complaint is that I thought we'd have like a big harrowing sequence in this one too. Like we don't really get that. It
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
couple of
Was
interesting moments,
something
but like
like i.e. like a long take thing, like what they did in season
right,
one,
right. I
or
wanted
the
something like
really
that.
messed
We
up
didn't really
moment
get
in
that.
season two where they was trying to free the girl and all
Right,
that. But yeah, I was looking out for it
right.
too, and we don't get that. But yeah, more.
Yeah, we don't get
I'll
that.
get to that later. But yeah, go on.
Right. Whatever. That's minor nitpicks going to really change the core conceit of it. Right. So is Navarro and Jodie Foster playing gosh.
Liz Danvers.
Right, yeah, Danvers, right. So yeah, the two of them have to solve a case. Is somebody a girl who was murdered, one of the person's friends is but well we had to get into the aspect of indigenous people and then a factory and a whole concept about pollution, and there's a lot of conceits about you know uh indigenous people and the tongue, and there's a lot of like mythology and mysticism in and around that. And they have to solve basically a bunch of scientists who was working in the area. They went missing, and there's a big murder case involved in that. And here's the problem. I just gonna just say it before. It have a small bingo card of me guessing. There's about 2 or 3 options, and I kind of guess the ending. And the reason why I guess the ending is because I saw a little movie a few years ago, and it was very reminiscent of that movie. And it's really similar to that. And that's why I guess the ending.
But what's the name of the movie?
The name of the movie is called Wind River.
Oh,
Um,
that's
it's
true.
really
Right.
reminiscent of
I
really
still
reminiscent
haven't
of
seen it though. I know how great it
yeah.
is. I haven't seen it. Forgive me. Yeah.
Yes, it's really, really reminiscent of Wind River, and basically, it does the same switcheroo that Wind River does. So that's why when I saw the ending and the reveal of who do what, I like, oh god, they do Wind River, but it different enough. It's not like it's not like I don't say it rip off Wind River, but it wasn't different enough for me to not guess it, and like the mystery wasn't that great or the payoff wasn't that great compared to season three, where in my humble opinion, I thought the big reveal or what it was, I thought that really worked in my humble opinion. This I wouldn't go as far as saying falling flat, but it just was just there. It just was like I did fine, but it didn't do anything for me as a big like gripping mystery kind of thing. They get to the ending, they who revealed a story, that's all we'll say, reveal a story about themselves and why they did it. That was about it. And so the ultimate mystery and the real answer wasn't that great. Whilst I thought with season three was much more interesting and engaging from a character perspective, right? The problem with season two is that the mystery didn't tie to the characterization particularly well, in my humble opinion. It was vague and not that conceited, but it didn't tie as well as it could have, right? Season one is still the best in my humble opinion. That just comes together, but that was mostly because it was the first season and it catches off guard with the high quality of material and Woody Harrelson amazing acting, right? Uh, and well, what do you call him? Not also McConaughey, right?
McConaughey. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, McConaughey and Woody Harrelson did bounce off each other really well. In this, it's good characterization, right? Not bad at all. I can't be mad at any of it or anything like that. But it just didn't do it for me in the same way this could have done it. And is the ending is like vague enough, and it I don't know why the shot was done the way it is because it was unclear, but I get why they might have done it. But again, it's just character stuff can come together. Like a certain character does, a certain character's sister happens, something happened to them, and like all right, I get why that happened, but they couldn't explain that particularly well, so that didn't do it for me. And I know it have people who really defend this, and it have some really good like character actors in this, like Christopher Eccleston has a great little role in this. I thought he's great. Like, yeah, Doctor Who in this, nice. And what they do with him, and then certain cover-ups and characters who doing what and where works. The big reveal. This is oh gosh, what's the actress name by Fiona Shaw. What the reveal about her is pretty interesting. Like I really wish we got more with her. Um, right. By the way, she's a character connected to season one. Very vague connection, super vague. Um,
Okay, okay. I didn't
it,
know. Didn't know.
Yeah, well, it's she's connected to somebody connected to him. When they mention a name, it's like, oh, it's that's character's father. That's all you need to know, right? If you look it up, you'll find out. Yeah, it good, but I just couldn't get into it, and it works in terms of the concept of night country and what night country means. We find out what that is. We're not too clear we're not too clear. Again, it relies on the mysticism of it because we're not sure. Again, the nature of the show is that it does the supernatural stuff, but not really supernatural, and it's more in your head versus not sure. We don't know. They keep it on there, but it works. It's not bad stuff. I couldn't get myself to say hate it or anything like that. But it was just serviceable, and it was fine. but it wasn't as engaging as 3 in my opinion. Better than 2 because 2 is a little too helter skelter. I get what they're trying to go for it too, but it didn't gel together as well as it could, and still not as good as 1 in my humble opinion. But I just me about it. Decent enough mystery, not that engaging when they reveal what's going on. And well, the big problem is that unfortunately is that I saw Wind River. That's kind of the problem. So I kind of guessed the ending, or one of my guesses what the ending. Because once I saw Snow and Indigenous person, I kind of thinking, wait, they're not going to do a Wind River thing, right? And we kind of get that, kind of. Like it's kind of like that when they reveal the two parts of a story, and it's about a story, and they do a lot of oral tradition stuff and indigenous issue stuff. It's like, all right, it comes together reasonably well, and they make it work for what it is. Written, still pretty high score. It's still really well done. Jodie Foster is excellent in this. Everybody comes together really well. Side characters are great in this. Callie Reese, she's a star. I really want to see her in more stuff going forward. Side characters are great. Like Leah Danvers is pretty good. I forget his son's name. Who's the actor who's played his son? But it's the guy's son, but he's like the younger cop who
Oh, all
Jodie
right.
Foster.
So the actor is Finn Bennett. He plays Peter
Right, right,
Pryor.
right.
Peter
Right, yes,
Pryor.
Peter. Right, the Peter character, right. He was pretty good. And everybody bounced off each other pretty good. But again, compared to season 3, which I thought that reveal is much better. Like the reveal of what's going on and why this is happening in the way it does. I thought that was a much more engaging ending than this. That's it. It didn't rope me in as much as it could. But that was a lot better of a review. That's why I just put season 3 above this one. But it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But then also season 2 wasn't bad in my humble opinion. I thought that was pretty good in terms of the reveal. It's just it could have tightened the characterization a little better. That's about it. Written, yeah, still get a pretty high score. Like I give it like a low 8. Maybe like a 7 or a low 8. But it's solid stuff, and they make it work for what it is in terms of like just how it's shot, everything in nighttime. The what night country is when they reveal what that is. It's like, all right, okay, that working, and it's really interesting part of that aspect and dimension of the storytelling. Especially with respect to like the aspect of the factory and relation to pollution and climate change, which is something that's where I thought the story was gonna go, but it didn't go that direction. It went another direction, which I kind of guessed. And I think it just didn't do anything for me because I unfortunately I kind of guessed it, kind of. Right, I didn't super guess it. I didn't predict the future or anything like that. But I was like, hey, they might do something like this, and then they did something like that. That's it. Didn't hate it, but it wasn't as it didn't wrap me in as much as season 3 did, in my humble opinion. So that's what I feel about that. Yeah.
So I'm kind of in the same fence as you, right? Or same position as you, right? In terms of how I look at this whole season in general, right? But for me, it wasn't really so much about comparing it to the previous seasons. It was about the hype surrounding it, right? Now the hype makes a lot of sense because again, it's been 5 years since we got the last season, right? But I fear this is where this and subsequent future seasons will fall into where it's, oh my god, we waited so long for this and it's
Right.
here, and oh my god, it's here, right? So even when I saw the finale, which I actually appreciate for what it was, right? But it didn't blow me away as much as I wanted to, even though, emotionally there was some solid payoffs, right? That's all I'll say at this moment, right? But
Yeah.
I think, in other words, I feel like there's a lot of hype built around this show, around this particular season, though. And I mean, I understand, right? But that's where, at the end, by year's end, a lot of people are more or less obliged now to put this, in their, or I should say compelled now to put this into their best of list. I'll just let you all know one time. This will be an honorable mention for me because I think that it is top quality TV and it's something that I want to remember by year's end, right? But it's not top 10 for me neither. But that's not a bad thing, eh? So we don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing, right? Because yes, this is, it pretty much, hate to use this term, but yes, it is a return to form. It's pretty much the series is back, folks. That's what it is, right? We're giving you the big E-list actors or actor, we bringing in some newbies onto the scene and whatnot. We're gonna tell a really engaging and coherent story. We're gonna have the twists and turns and the weird stuff here, there. It's just stuff that we know and love from True Detective up to this point, right? It's just that for me, I felt like at this point in time, a little bit more could have been done, in terms of, kind of like just selling the story out even more, right? So I'll give you a point. Um, I appreciate the whole mysticism aspect of it, especially in relation to
Yeah.
the specific tribe. I forgot the name of the tribe. I don't even gonna
Yeah.
pronounce the name of it. And just the whole idea of, well, slight spoiler, it involves death and what happens to to souls or to lost souls, pretty much, right? That's pretty much it, right? So characters are seeing dead people and they're haunted they're haunted by their loss. They're haunted by grief. A lot of characters are haunted by their loss and their past and all that kind of stuff, right? And especially the whole context of, and this is one aspect where the show really shines, right? I see it shine because, yeah, a majority of the show takes place at night, right? It's the whole, if you remember a movie from 2007 called 30 Days a Night, it's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's that it's like that, right? And especially the fact that it's set during Christmas time too, make it
Yeah.
even darker
Christmas,
as well
Christmas
too.
into New Year's. Yeah.
Yeah, boy,
All of that context of work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually love the whole idea of this endless night as a backdrop. That works perfectly for the show, right? And and especially where the majority of these characters are, it feels, well, what the beauty of it all too is that it feels like this is how the world of the show is. It always has been this way. There's been no sun, even though we do see sun at the very beginning of the of the show. I'm not gonna spoil anything beyond that. It feels like this is the world that these characters have always inhabited. Like nothing has ever changed, right? So yeah, it's always eternal darkness, so to speak. These characters are always cynical and they always feel a sort of way about the world, about their life, and all that kind of stuff. You see that in particular with Liz Danvers, who's played by Jodie Foster. This is, for me, I do really follow up. I'm not knowledgeable in all things Jodie Foster, but this is the most cynical and crass I've ever seen her.
Yeah.
And it totally works. You do buy into her nihilism. You do buy into her cynicism.
And why? And you learn why.
Yes.
And
it makes a lot of sense, right? Yes, she insults people and she cusses a lot and all that kind of stuff. But you understand why. When they reveal and when they remind you ever so often of why, yeah, you really do feel it for it. You understand why she does this, right? Same thing for Navarro, right? Played by Callie Reese, right? You understand why she is so tough, right? And by the way, yeah, you're right. She is destined for
she's a star.
she's a star. She's destined for superstardom, right? Guy watching she face and she matters. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
like you're an actress. I don't say that she should be an actress, but like I feel like you are better fit for something else. I'm not really sure what it is, but it doesn't look like I don't know, like it just feels like you're bringing something different to the table, something really aggressive. It's only when I read up, oh, she used to be a boxer. It's like, oh, that makes sense, right? Because yeah, there's moments where she get to punch people in the face. There's one scene, slight spoiler, I'll say, that takes place on Christmas Eve. Boy, that was rough.
Yeah.
I felt it for she, but boy, she really threw blows. She really threw blows and bows. I'll give it that. She really did that, boy. But yeah, it was rough, right? And even she herself, you understand why she is burned too by her own inner demons as well too. I like that in the case because what is set up to, because watching she like, wait, you're black, but like, are you Alaskan? I wasn't sure. Again, I wasn't familiar with the actress, right? And then, then they explain that she is biracial, right? So they explain that.
Right.
I was like, all right, cool, right? So yeah,
but explain where she's from. She's not from there. It's a whole thing.
Right, exactly. Right. So there's this something. It's related to mysticism, right? But she calls it this sort of family curse. So like, her and her sister who going through a set of troubles herself, right? Yeah, seeing spirits and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
But just back to what I was saying earlier, right? Where like I felt the show kind of reach a little bit more, right? I like how they were setting up the whole horror aspect of things. So like the big incited incident, if you will, right? It's very much, you could tell that it's inspired by John Carpenter's The Thing. It's these characters who are in this laboratory and they're all isolated and weird stuff is happening and people acting weird and it results very, very, very The Thing like, right? Yeah, when these characters are pretty much mangled up and like just corpses looking really, really fucked up though, right? It works, right? Yeah. Although the payoff for it, and I understand it in terms of like the oratory aspect of like, Alaskan culture and just how stories are being passed on. I get it. I understand it. I also love, without spoiling anything, the idea of perspective. It could be this thing or it could be that thing, right? But I expected a much better payoff, Trey, because like when you see the image of these dead bodies for the first time, when you see that for yourself, you're like, okay, something supernatural did this, right? And then they kind of tell you, yeah, that happened, but like when they actually see what it is, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't show me what it is, but like I was expecting something greater than oh, it's just this, you know what I mean? So that's I try to be vague here, but that's the point again. That like
Here's the thing, right? In Wind River,
uh-huh.
okay, go when you watch Wind River, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But in Wind River, they do a similar misdirection, right? But in Wind River, it was kind of brilliant because, well, I'll admit it's probably because of the action. But when they reveal what was going on in Wind River, it's like, wow, that really worked because of the angle they take with it now. In this, it's just as good, eh? And I can imagine if somebody ignorant of the material, it would work as a concept. But I don't know, it just was fine.
Yeah,
Just
it was.
yeah,
So the best way I could sum up my issue with this season here too is apart from the emotional stuff, right, and the tones of it, like the tone of it, the dark tone is justified, especially with the whole 30 Days of Night thing, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
set during Christmas, all that. It fits, right? It fits in the whole neo noir world that this show builds itself from, right?
yeah.
And
It's a unique space. Yeah,
yeah, it is, right? And yes, it does borrow from the last seasons in terms of, okay, it's this really heinous crime or murder or whatnot, but it's weirder than you might think, and it may be based on something supernatural, all that kind of stuff, right?
right.
But I think it's just the way how it was set up, though. You're thinking it's going to be something a lot greater, like something. I'm not seeing, okay, how to say without spoiling anything. I'm not expecting something overly supernatural or overly demonic or whatever, right? But when you actually find out why this thing happened, it's like, oh, that's why. Okay, well, that's it.
Right.
All right. And even like the subplot involving this girl who was murdered. That's all we'll see without spoiling anything. Yeah, even that too. Like I was expecting a bigger payoff than that, right? I do like how it's framed in terms of what the people are going through, and I'm not gonna spoil anything beyond that. I guess that's where you can compare it to Wind River as well, too, right? What we just say, it involves the environment, right? It involves the environment,
Right.
and it makes a lot of sense, right? But I guess what I'm trying to say is just payoff wise, could have got more, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I still did enjoy the finale itself and how it tied all these connective narrative trends there, because yeah, it was just kind of setting up things, and not really sure where it's going, right? But I actually do like the show for that too. So what I will say is that you have to be patient with this one. For me, I was watching it, I was like, all right, okay, I like it where it's going, but I don't know, I was just kind of wondering where it was gonna lead up to. I was a little concerned, right? But you have to stick with it. You have to stick with it. And then the finale comes, and you're like, oh, all right, that's what they're going for. Okay, and I actually do
Yeah.
appreciate the end from an emotional perspective. All I'll just say without spoiling anything is that the sun comes back out, right? The night is gone, and it works. I like that thematically, right, and emotionally, right? But I don't know. I guess again it just has to do with the gap of time between seasons. You was expecting, all right, okay, well, like from HBO's perspective, there, like, all right, like folks, you wait long for season 4. Here we are, and we're gonna pull out the big guns for this one, and they kind of do, but not as much as they would expect, though, right? But that's not to say that it isn't great in this, right? I thought that the cinematography in particular, Jesus, that looked great though.
Yeah.
Just
It's pretty good.
the
Yeah.
night photography works well,
Yeah.
lighting, all that stuff. Performances, great. Again, Jodie Foster, never seen her this angry before, but it totally works. And the supporting cast, including Kylie Reese, is great as well, right? But even dug the indigenous actors as well. Also like guys like Christopher Eccleston. I didn't expect to see him in this. And especially what they did with his character as well to kind of make a lot of sense. It adds to the whole insidious nature of everything behind the scenes. I really dug that. Um, Also, if I just have one last nitpick and then I could move on to Rita, right? As much as I was enjoying Peter's character arc, there's a moment that happens. I'm not gonna spoil what it is, and I felt like the payoff for that didn't work for me for some reason.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's just because of his reaction. One is his reaction to it, well, subsequent reaction to it, I should say, and two, they didn't set up the conflict between him and another character well enough. to
Look,
justify why he would
um,
move about the way he does when the moment takes place. It just felt
okay.
like, okay, I
I
have
think I know
to
what you're talking about.
without
I think I
spoil.
know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah, I think I
Right.
know
So
what you're talking about. And
right.
yeah, I get it. I kind of get it
I
because it is building power.
I get it too. From a, all right. So
Right.
from a genre perspective, I understand. Right. You know, you're
Right.
more or less kind of sweeping the dust underneath the rug. That's all I say. Right.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Exactly. Right.
in relation to who he, you know, in relation to what happens there, I felt like he could have reacted to it. Like I don't know, I wasn't expecting the stone face reaction to things. Like okay, like I need to just do it and just move on with my life because you know they set up something involving somebody else that's close to me that apparently is much more important to you. But they still didn't really set that up properly. Like there's moments
Right.
involving the two characters, but not enough for you to justify that there's some kind of real tension between the two of them. There, I just sort of
Right.
saw it as like, oh, all right, well, that's okay. I guess it leaded up to something, but then something happens to one of the characters, then the other person reacts, and you're like, wow, why you reacting like this? I don't understand this. I get it, but like I don't know, like I was expecting you to react more differently to this, but you're like, well, okay, just do the job and move on. You know, it was weird. It was just weird. It almost took about the issue, right? So the point is, while at the end of the day, just to wrap it up, while this is not the best season, you know, of True Detective, this was still a satisfying, you know, season nonetheless, right? It was more
Right.
or less, yeah, the show is back, and we're gonna give you the same top quality that you expect, right? So even with our nitpicks and flaws that we picked out, it still does not shake the fact that this is, yeah, still one of the best directed and produced shows out there, especially coming from HBO, right? I remember you had to understand that shit like Game of Thrones is done, so is this gonna be the new flagship show going forward? I don't know. It could be, but again, I really feel like HBO just sort of need to figure out their basically the timeline. They need to figure out the creative timeline a lot differently. So, man, like we done waited 10 years for the next season, and then we have to debate whether this new season is the best one. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, we shouldn't do that. Like, the show itself should just, for me personally, just go on for like, I don't know, 2, 3 more seasons, wrap up, and
All right.
then we could go back and say, oh, this season is the best and this was the best. So I'm not even gonna make the argument to say this is better than the other one or whatnot. I might actually do agree with your ranking, come to think of it, right? Yes, one is
Right.
still the best, right? I'm actually
Right.
surprised you have 3 over this one here, right? But I understand
Right.
where you're coming from. But yeah, I will not be surprised if a lot of people come out and say Night Country is the best season of True Detective we've ever had. If you believe so and you have you have
Yeah.
working memory of the other 3 seasons, great. No problem. I understand that, right? But because I don't, I can't honestly see that it is the best one, right? But it is still solid TV. You know, it's a again, it's a it's a prime example of what HBO has been known for years. And I hope that going into the rest of this decade, yeah, we see more seasons of this. We see great stories really with um may not be the most original themes, but you know, stuff that is still provocative and you know, moody and whatnot, and just thematically dark and whatnot. You know, the same stuff that we
Right.
know and love for the series now, you know what I mean? But I hope that at the end of the day when the series wraps up, we can look back at it and say, yeah, this series was kind of brilliant. The series is kind of brilliant, right? So
Yep.
this season 4 is good news for me. 'Cause it tells me that yeah, what we could get going forward is you know nothing but greatness, and that's why I want to see going forward, right? So yeah, for me, rating wise, strong 4 out of 5. I'll still give this a strong 4 out of 5, despite the picks that I made with it, right? So it's not the most, it's not perfect, mind you, and I wouldn't honestly say that it's the best season we've ever gotten, though, but it is the season back in pure form. You know, it's just kind of letting the world know we're back, right? So again, because season 5 is greenlit now, I hope that we don't have to wait forever and a day for the next season. And I really want this season to ultimately, you know, we could look back at it and say, yes, this is one of the best TV shows, not just in HBO, but just in TV. Period. That's what I want from True Detective. That's you can tell that's what HBO is aiming at for this, right? With the large budget and of course just getting big Oscar winning, you know, stars, you know, to lead these seasons, right? But yeah, I've got my high hopes for the next season, but again, I just hope we don't wait forever for it. So yeah, I know you gave your rating, but just any final thoughts on this season and what you think we can expect going forward with this show?
Oh yeah. Okay. So as I say, it might be a bit unfair of assessment of why I didn't care for it because you see another show that kind of remind you of it. But to me, unfortunately, a big part of this is the mystery, right? And where they're gonna take you with respect to the mystery, right? Season one is still the best, just a really really good but straightforward narrative of, and then it goes into really strange places. Two is a nice misdirection, but in a kind of bad sense. And I thought three was a misdirection, but in a good sense, right? At least when it comes to character work, right? In terms of like what it means for the character and the context of that, right? I can see a lot of people not caring for three. I understand that, but it worked for me. It totally worked in terms of like what the main character was going through and why, and especially that last shot, right, and what that meant. But with this now, the the ending works kind of, but it still didn't hit with me. And again, it's unfortunate because I guessed it. That was kind of the problem I had with thing. I didn't guess uh season three ending. I just didn't guess it. Like, oh, that's a real interesting take on the matter. But this one really works for me. And that's about it. Might be a little unfair. I think it may be. I think it might be a bit uncharitable on my part to do it like that. But because of this one movie remind me of this thing so much, I really felt, all right, they could have, you know, changed it up or stick, change it up in some way or do something new original. I don't really get that as it is. But yeah, still a solid outing overall. I dug it for what it was, but yeah, that is how I feel about that. So yeah, what was my rating? Like 8 out of 10,
Yeah,
low eight.
a low 8, a low 8, yeah.
Yeah, it's about that still. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, check it out, man. True Detective is back. But I would recommend don't go in with a whole bunch of hype around it. Again, I know the hype will overwhelm you, and you might go into each and every episode thinking that it's some sort of masterwork of TV. But no, just
Right.
watch it for what it is. What you gain from it, you gain from it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. If you compare it to another season, you think it's better or worse, then that's fine. That's your opinion, right? But yeah, I really feel the hype surrounding this season will result in it showing up at a bunch of a bunch of year end lists. But for me, I could see this as an honorable mention, though. Like something that is still great, but just not top 10 worthy for me. But in no way am I saying that that's a reason for you not to see it. If you're a True Detective fan, if you're a True Detective fan, watch it. If you're not familiar with True Detective at all, then just watch the previous seasons so you'll get the gist of it. And all three, and not just one, and you just jump to four. Watch all three, get a gauge of it, and then jump into this one, right? And yeah, you should enjoy it, man.